A doctor is in her office when she receives an urgent call from the hospital. The tone of the call is serious, so she immediately heads to check on the patient. At the hospital, a nurse directs her to the patient's room. As she walks in, the room feels strangely quiet. She looks around at first and sees no one, until she notices the patient sitting in the corner. The patient looks terrified. She explains that she has been seeing something, a strange, smiling creature that keeps appearing. The doctor stays calm and tells her it is most likely a hallucination. Suddenly, the patient drops to the floor and begins crawling in distress. The doctor tries to calm her down, but when it doesn't work, she steps aside to call for help. As she speaks on the phone, her voice steady but concerned, she slowly turns back toward the patient. What she sees shocks her. The patient is now standing still, with a disturbing smile on her face. In a horrifying moment, she suddenly cuts her own neck. The doctor freezes in fear, unable to react. Within seconds, the support team rushes in and carries the body away. The room falls silent again. Tears roll down the doctor's face. She is shaken, deeply disturbed by what she has just witnessed. Later, her colleagues question her about the incident, trying to understand what really happened. But even she struggles to process it. At home, the doctor tries to relax, telling herself it is over. But suddenly, she sees it. The same smiling figure the patient described. Startled, she drops a glass, and it shatters on the floor. Her husband rushes in, confused and concerned, asking what happened. She quickly calms him down, forcing a smile and insisting that everything is fine. But it is not. Back at the hospital, she checks on another disturbed patient. This one keeps shouting the same words over and over again. Somebody's going to die. The words send a chill through her. She quickly calls for help, and her colleagues step in to handle the situation. Not long after, her boss calls her in and lectures her about everything that has happened, warning her to stay in control. Later, a therapist visits her at home. They talk for a while, trying to help her process the trauma. After the session, she prepares to attend her nephew's birthday. She stands in front of the mirror, looking at herself. Then forces a small smile, trying to appear normal. When she arrives at the party with a gift in her hands, she tries her best to blend in, even though deep inside, she knows something is very wrong. At the birthday party, everything seems normal as the doctor watches her nephew open the gift she brought. For a brief moment, there is laughter and excitement, but that quickly fades when the boy's expression suddenly changes. Confusion turns into shock as he slowly reaches into the box and pulls out a dead cat. The entire room falls silent before chaos erupts. The boy's parents rush to pull him away while others panic, and the doctor, frozen in disbelief, steps forward and takes the lifeless animal. As she lifts her head, she sees it again, the same smiling figure, standing and watching her. Fear overwhelms her, and she stumbles backward, falling hard and injuring herself as blood begins to show. People rush to her side, and she is quickly taken to the hospital. Later, her husband arrives to pick her up, but his patience is gone. He is upset, confused, and unable to understand what is happening to her. Their conversation turns tense, and in that moment, he decides to walk away, leaving her alone. Desperate for answers, the doctor visits another woman who once experienced something similar. The woman listens carefully before revealing something horrifying. She shows the doctor the unnatural and disturbing face of her late husband, then brings out several terrifying images that make it clear this situation is far beyond imagination. Still searching for answers, the doctor visits a close friend at his home. He listens with concern and begins searching on his laptop. After a while, he finds something unsettling and turns the screen toward her. The image is disturbing, and the doctor can feel her fear growing deeper. With nowhere else to turn, she goes to see her ex-husband, but the moment he sees her, he becomes upset and refuses to get involved. Rejected once again, she returns to her sister's home, hoping for support, but her sister refuses to welcome her and makes it clear she wants nothing to do with her anymore. Broken and exhausted, the doctor sits alone in her car when the hallucinations begin again. She looks ahead and sees her sister, but something is terribly wrong. Her face appears twisted and horrifying, and the doctor screams in fear. Outside, a young boy notices her through the window and becomes frightened by her reaction. Trying to find someone who understands, her friend later takes her to meet a man who has experienced the same thing. They begin to talk, but as soon as the doctor asks deeper questions, the man becomes overwhelmed with fear. He starts shouting and panicking, refusing to continue, which forces security to step in and remove him. The doctor and her friend are left with no choice but to leave. That night, the doctor returns home and receives a call from the therapist, who asks to visit her. She agrees, but moments later, messages from her husband appear on her phone, leaving her shaken. Overcome with anxiety, she bites her finger until it bleeds and quickly runs it under tap water. When the therapist arrives, they begin to talk, but something feels off. In the middle of their conversation, the doctor receives another call, and as she looks back at the therapist, her expression changes. The therapist's face slowly shifts into a disturbing smile. Without warning, the therapist suddenly attacks, grabbing her face tightly in a terrifying manner. The doctor struggles in fear, and in an instant, everything changes. She suddenly finds herself inside her car, breathing heavily, with a knife in her hand. Confused and shaken, she realizes it was not real, or at least she hopes so. Driven by fear, she rushes back to the hospital and enters a room where a disturbed patient sits alone. The patient looks at her and becomes visibly afraid. This time, the doctor is different. She steps closer, her emotions unstable, and just as her boss walks in, confused by the situation, she suddenly attacks. She begins stabbing the patient repeatedly, while her boss screams in horror at what he is witnessing. The moment becomes unbearable, and suddenly, the doctor wakes up again, gasping for air. It was another terrifying vision. The fear does not leave her. As she looks out through a window, disturbing images flood her mind, reminding her of everything she has seen. Unable to take it any longer, she gets into her car and drives away. This time, she is heading to her childhood home, the place where everything may have begun.